What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture, and I got a juicy nugget of a video today, kind of discussing some semi-controversial issues. Before I get into it, guys, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the links below if you want to help support the channel and get extra perks for only $3.99 a month. You can sign up to become a patron at patreon.com. Link is below. And, of course, you can get some official Journos Comics merch. Check out the link to our Comic Book Canon Friday night live show. If you haven't yet, link below and all the other awesome affiliates. Guys, okay, we are talking about ethics in the LCS today. So this has actually been a topic that I've been wanting to, I've touched on this before in the past, but I've been wanting to do another video on it for a while. And then I saw a post from Strange Blade on Instagram. Big shout out to Strange Blade. I want to give my utmost respect. We were kind of going back and forth on this topic. Didn't agree necessarily with everything, but I love when we can get into these conversations and, you know, have a discussion and bring different perspectives to the table. So that discussion really helped inspire me to come today. So big shout out to Strange Blade. Usually him and I like agree on almost everything. Here we were like, but this is just it's a topic that has so many interwoven, you know, it's a tangled web of many things, and you can't just look at it black and white. And that's LCS's selling new books for above cover price. Okay, now we're gonna dive into this, but the question I'll ask is this: should an LCS be able to sell a book on the day if it's released, that Wednesday that it comes out? Should they be able to sell that price for more than $3.99 or the cover price of whatever that book is? My cut and dry answer, yes. I know. Most of you are probably like, what are you talking about? That's unethical, that's wrong, but let me dive into it. I said that's my black and white, just cut and dry. There's so many layers to it though. Yes, but in certain situations. So let's dive into all these different situations, guys. And look, I don't have any notes. I didn't take no notes on this. I'm just coming from the top and trying to just free flow my thoughts on this matter. Okay. I'm going to first talk about the fact of people being able to get their hands on books. Okay. We all have I talk about this a lot. We all have the ability of getting our hands on books actually before the release date. How do we do that? Two main ways. One, if we have an LCS, because we're talking about LCSs right now, if we have an LCS, we make sure that we let our LCS owner, manager, or employees know we want this book on our pull list. Okay? Even if it's not something that you read, you know, like, you know, I read Amazing Spider-Man and it's on my pull list every month, right? Say I get a previews order and I know that something's coming out 3 months from now, like a King in Black #1 or something like that. Oh man, I want to get into that. I call my LCS and say, hey guys, can you put the King of Black series on my pull list? Gladly. I'm not saying to do it like the day before it comes out, but I mean, you know about these things months in advance, right? And the other way is just to order via previews. I've talked about this a lot because you get your books at discount cover price. You order them 3 months in advance. So there are ways where you can be assured that you're getting books at cover price or less before they release. Okay? Now, let's look at the LCS and what they should do when the book comes out. Now, I just said that they should have the ability to mark a book higher than cover price if the market is already demanding it. Okay? That means, say for example, there is what's a book that we can use? Maybe Daredevil 25, but that already came out and got hot for the most part. I mean, we can look at a book like The Last Ronin #1. The pre-sales were so hot with that, and then there was an issue with distribution, so that's another thing. But let's say, you know, an LCS ordered their Last Ronin #1s, right? And they probably have say they did do pre-orders. So those pre-orders are already bought and paid for, or they should be. And then you also have your pull list. So you have a certain amount that are set aside for your pull list, right? Anybody that had it in their pull list, that should be set in their pull list, okay? Everything else, though, on the date of release, if the market is already demanding that book is above the cover price of $8.99 for that book, and say the market's demanding a fair market value of $20 for that book, I honestly have no problem with that LCS taking the remainder of those books and slapping a $20 price tag on them. Now, again, let me explain. Actually, one thing, would I do this as an LCS owner? I'm not necessarily saying I would do it, but that's not my argument here. Let me tell you what the LCS shouldn't do. Okay? They shouldn't upsell the price of that book to any pre-order or to any book that's in a pull list. Absolutely not. That crosses the line. That's 100% unethical. If somebody has a run, say they have Daredevil in their pull list every month, and 25 comes up and you go in to get your next Daredevil of that month and they're like, hey, this book's been hot. I got to sell it to you for 10 bucks, 15 bucks. That's wrong, because you are assured those books at cover price by putting it on your pull list. All right? So if anybody's trying to up somebody's pull list, unethical, 100%. If somebody tries to up somebody's pre-order, unethical, 100%. All right? But let me talk to you about why I believe that I can't argue with them taking whatever copies are remaining and marking them up to a fair market value. Okay, let me explain. First off, the most feasible reason why I feel that this is valid is because comic books are a collectible, okay? And what makes them valuable is their collectability. And that right there makes the comic book industry and the comic book market completely different than almost any other market. And I want to say this has nothing to do with distribution or the distribution channel at all to make me believe in what I believe in. Distribution has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the product itself. Let's use other stores, for example, because you may say, well, that's like, what if Best Buy up the price of a PlayStation or a TV because the hype was big and people are scalping them and whatnot. Here's the problem with that argument. Your Targets, your Best Buys, your Walmarts, whatever they have on their shelves, okay, they're selling brand new, right, at a market suggested price, whatever that may be, all right? Once they buy it off the shelf, it becomes used and that value significantly decreases. No matter what it is, no matter if it's food, no matter if it's clothing, no matter if it's electronics, if it's used. Look at electronics. Even if it's electronics and it's used and you return it, it's going to be returned as an open box and you're going to get it discounted, right? Even if you never even use the product. Let's look at comic books. Comic books, as soon as you buy them off the rack, they don't decrease in value right away. Their value does not diminish. It actually potentially increases. Okay, there is a huge differentiation between a PlayStation that was bought, and I'm not talking about the crazy hype that's going on right now, but there's a differentiation between a PlayStation or a TV that's bought from a store, that's taken home and returned. Okay? It is now used or open box, whatever technicalities you want to call it. A comic book, once it's bought off the rack, it has the potential to increase in value. And there's no way, as long as you didn't damage the book, or do anything to the book, there's no way to differentiate a new book and a used book as soon as they hit the stand on New Comic Book Wednesday. There's no way. So if there's a Daredevil 25 and a 9.8 that's selling on the secondary market for 40 bucks, and somebody and that person bought that book off of the rack from their LCS, and that LCS still has another book of that same book on that rack, and they're the same grade, there's no differentiating a used book or a new book that's still in the store. Because comic books are collectibles. The collectability changes the market, okay? So that's why, and here's the thing. Here's another thing, big element. LCSs sell used comic books. They're not just a primary market. They're not. They sell new and used. So another argument is, well, when does a new book become a back issue book where it can either lose value, put in the bargain bin, or it can gain value? When? Is it the day after it releases? Is it a week after? Is it 2 weeks? Is it a month? Is it 2 hours of sitting on the new comic book day shelf? There's no law. There's no rule. There's no law that determines when a new book becomes a back issue, where you can take that back issue and price it according to market value. You see what I'm saying here? So who decides these laws? Who decides that new book, you have to keep that new book that's already selling on eBay, online, wherever it may be, it's already selling for $40 or $50. You have to keep that book on the new comic book shelf at cover price for a week. Who gets to decide that? The person that didn't put it in their pull list? The person that didn't order it through previews just because they're upset and they see that there's spec value behind this book and now they want it for cover price? You see what I'm saying here, guys? You see what I'm saying? Now, let's look at these elements as well. Not every book, sometimes I think when people talk about this, they think that if this is happening in comic book stores and LCSs, they're doing it to all their releases. Do you guys know how many new comic books come out every week? Hundreds. Every week. Every single week. Hundreds. When does a book actually gain a larger, a fair market value that exceeds cover price on the day of release? How often does that happen? Very rare. I'm gonna estimate probably well under 1% of all releases. So, it's not like there's this manipulating of the market going on where this is happening every day. Now, if there is an LCS, let me actually, before I dive into that, let me say this. I believe that it's viable for the LCS to do this when it correlates to a fair market value. If a book is actually getting hot and there's spec value or whatever value, and you could sell that book for $10, $15, $20 on the day of release, and the customer wants to take the LCS owner wants to take a few of their inventory, leave the pull list for the pull listers at cover price, and wants to take a few of those and try to sell them at, say, $10, $15. It's ethical as long as it's what the market is demanding. It's not ethical when the LCS is just doing it just to try to make money off of an inflated value. So say there's a book that comes out, or there's a few books that come out every week that the same LCS owner is like inflating the price of it, saying, yeah, that's, I only got a few issues of those and that's rare and it's selling for that. And there's no viability to it. There's no credibility to what he's doing. There's nothing on the market to back up what he's doing. That's wrong. See? So that's a whole other situation. You have so many different situations that you can look at to say, well, this is ethical and this isn't. If an LCS owner is just putting them out there and marking up the value for no reason without any justification, that's wrong. Like, say, a variant. Say they're marking up variants to, oh, well, that's a variant, so it's worth $10, but you can still go to eBay and find it for cover price or something. That's wrong. And look, here's another thing to where, look, I'm all about ethics, but at the end of the day, how do you police ethics? The industry within itself has to abide by standards and regulations if there's legalities involved, right? But how do you police ethics? I'm going to tell you something. If a LCS owner is doing something that is actually unethical and turns off customers, guess what's going to happen? A couple things. One, they're probably going to start losing business. And two, they're going to get a bad rep. Their reputation is going to go down the toilet because it's going to become known. People are going to push back against it, and they're going to have to either change their ways. And who's gonna suffer from unethical practices? The LCS owner in the LCS store, because they can lose business. It can essentially hurt their sales and essentially hurt them. You see what I'm saying? So Again, I'm not advocating whatsoever for LCSs to practice inflating prices of new comic books without any justification for it from the market itself. And I will say this, and I've said this in videos in the past, an LCS still can't just go on eBay and see what it's selling for on eBay. They can't do that. eBay in some areas demands a different market value. Sometimes eBay commands a higher value because there's the convenience of not leaving your home, being able to sit in front of your phone or your computer and purchase your book there. So say, for example, a new book's coming out on Wednesday and it's Monday and Tuesday, and you're looking at eBay sales and this book is selling for $20, $25, and you're like, wow, I mean, this book is really hyped up. I got my my pull list, I got my pre-orders. Let me put a price tag on it of $9.99. I think it's fair that the demand is there, and I need to make money. So I'm gonna put a $9.99 price, even though it's selling on eBay for $15 and $20. That's fair. I think that's ultimately fair. And guys, here's the thing too. We all complain about the LCSs struggling, right? So if you know that a book is hot on the day of release, and you could go to eBay, or you could go to Marketplace, you can go to all these different places, and you could buy the book for $20 or $25, but your LCS is selling it for $10, wouldn't you still support your LCS and not complain and say, how dare you not sell this book at cover price the day of the release? All right, let me put, we're going to start wrapping up here, but let me put a bit of perspective on what I would do as an LCS owner, okay? Like I said, I would never raise the price on individuals that have pull lists, okay? If I offer pre-orders, if I had a system to offer pre-orders, I would give discounts for pre-orders. I'd probably even give discounts for pull lists. Anybody that has a pull list, I'd probably either give them like 10% off of anything they put in their pull list, or I'd give them like a point, some type of point reward system. There'd be something there, right? So maybe one thing that I would do for just the regular customers that are coming in on New Comic Book Day is I would do this. If I know a book is hot, what's one way to make sure that everyone can get one? Well, you do that you limit, right? 1 or 2 per customer, right? But I struggle with, trying to police LCS owners to do that, because look, if somebody comes in and wants to buy 10 copies, you don't know. Even if there's spec on a book or how hot it's selling on eBay, you don't know if you're going to sell all your copies. And who am I to tell an LCS owner to not take as much money you can off of a sale? How am I to tell an LCS owner to limit the copies per customer just to be fair when that LCS owner needs to pay rent and overhead? But let's just say I'm an LCS that's doing fairly well. I'm paying my bills every month. I have good revenue coming in. This is what I would do. I would limit cover price 1 book. Meaning, anybody that came in on that Wednesday, you could get one of these books at cover price. You can get one of them at cover price. So you can collect it, you can read it, you can slab it, you can flip it and make a profit for it off of cover price, whatever you want to do with it. But if that same book is selling for $20 on eBay, I might say every second book after that is going to be a $10 sticker price, because it does 2 things. One, it allows that consumer to make a decision to say, well, I'm only going to buy one then, and it could leave more on the shelf for more customers that come in. But if you're willing to buy more, I'm going to reap what is currently a fair market value for selling you another copy. That's a fair balance, in my humble opinion. In my humble opinion. So, guys, before I wrap up, I want to say one more thing. Remember, LCSs are not solely a primary market. They are brick and mortar, but they sell a mixture of goods. They sell on the primary market, they sell on the secondary market, and they sell a good that is a collectible that is different than almost any other good that you can buy in any retail store. Any retail store. Because every other thing, even, cars. You could look at any new product, a physical product, and once you buy it, it's going to the value of that product is going to diminish as soon as you purchase it. Okay? Comic books don't. They have the potential to increase in value or decrease as soon as you buy them off the rack. And remember, I'm going to repeat this. There's no differentiating a brand new comic that's still on the rack and a comic that I just bought an hour ago from my LCS. There's no way to differentiate that. And who is to dictate when an LCS gets to pull a new comic off of the new comic shelf where they sell a cover price to put them in their back issue bins and selling them at a premium value that's aligned with the current fair market value, regardless if it's an hour after release, a day after release, 2 weeks after release, or a month after release. Again, guys, this is a very, very layered conversation and layered argument, and it's not black and white. So let's go back to the first thing I said in this video. I think it's fair for LCSs to do this, but only when you take into specific variables and specific consideration for the specific situation in hand. All right? You better give your pull list members and your pre-sale members those books at cover price or less. And you bet if you are upping the price on the new book, you do it in a fair and ethical way that took in proper research and understanding of the current fair market value, nothing less. Because if you start trying to do it just for any random new book, then you are taking advantage of your position as a retailer, and that's where it crosses the line. So again, guys, we could talk about this more and more. I hope that before you guys, if you ultimately disagreed with my original statement, I hope you took the time to watch the whole video and realize where I'm coming from. I would love to hear all your guys' opinions below. Be kind to each other. And again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Thank you to everyone that's been involved in this conversation as well, because I think it's one that needs to be talked about, and I think it's one that we need to have with open mind and open ears to where we can kind of find a level playing field for looking at these specific situations. So with that being said, guys, take care, be well, and until next time.